the other day. We're definitely not going to go through the whole thing, but we'll just look at a couple of them and see what we can learn. So one thing, I looked through this video already, and one thing we're going to notice is the different styles that different people of different sizes have. So Blake's one of the smaller kids on the team. He really has to use all the right techniques to roll the boat quickly and completely without wasting too much time on the rail trying to get the boat to roll over. And for him, that's difficult because he's little. And when you're little, you have less weight to roll the boat. So one thing, remember this, I'm going to bring it up later. Blake here, is his back's not straight. He's already starting to prepare to go under the boom when the boom's on the way over. His back is not straight, it's bent over. He's already thinking about the flatten before the rolls really happen. Let's see if he continues to do this. Yeah, okay, so he did. Okay, and then he kind of has to sit on the rail for maybe a little bit too long, trying to force the boat to roll over after the sail fills with wind on the new side, where he was maybe a little bit behind on the timing on the roll, and that's a really big challenge for him because he's probably 60 pounds or 70 pounds. So we're going to compare that to Ryan's tack coming up, and we're going to learn something from it. The rest of the tack here, the flatten, everything, he's got the hand on the centerboard, hand on the rail, everything else is pretty solid. He actually turns this into a really good tack. Too much rudder going into it. We'll watch it again to see how there's too much rudder going into it. Pretty good, smooth little flatten. Starting from the beginning. Okay, huge turn. Way too much rudder. Blake, you do that all the time. You gotta turn more with your weight, less with your rudder, and try to whip the boat around with your body posture. Zooming up to Ryan. So Ryan sailed all day this day. He didn't have enough luff tension. If you notice, look at here. It's hard to see it. You can probably see it better when the video is playing. Little scallops in the luff of his sails, showing that his luff tension's too loose. He needs half a twist off on the bling, maybe drop the boom just a tiny bit lower and get a little more tension on the luff of your sail. If you're scared to increase your luff tension because your entry is not going to be smooth enough, typically that's a sign that you have to ease off on the corner ties. But that's off topic a little bit. Let's go into the tack. So these are light air tacks. We're starting from inside the boat on all of these. So the transition of what you do with your weight to whip the boat into the tack is really kind of interesting here. Ryan initiates this tack mostly with the rudder instead of with the weight, but then he does incorporate his weight once he gets going through the tack, and he whips the boat around and pivots it around his mast. Okay, so right there when he stood up on his feet to go from inside the boat to on the rail, I would have liked if he surfed the boat into the tack a little bit more, almost like your bottom turning when you're surfing. You gotta lean the boat to leeward, step from his knees pointing across the boat to in front, right? He shifted from sideways to facing forward in Opti stance. He's gonna fire back on the rail, and the boat's gonna whip right around the movement that he makes when he does that. Okay. Good tack right into the coach boat wake. We're gonna pause right here. Okay, so let's compare this to Blake's tack. So at Blake's tack at this point, when the boom was coming over across the boat, he was already thinking about the flatten. He had his chest and his shoulders ducking under the boom ready to flatten, and then he got stuck rolling the boat after the tack, trying to get it to roll over as far as it was supposed to be. So Ryan at this point is still perfectly straight. Here's the rail line, right? Here's the outside of his boat. So probably 80–90% of his mass is outside of the rail line in this picture. So Blake needs to incorporate more of this technique. Same with everyone else who's small and is having a difficult time rolling the boat. You do not want to roll the boat after the boom comes across. You want to have the timing on the roll right. So typically what you always see with smaller Opti sailors is you see them forcing the roll too late in the second half of the tack, where if they have better technique and they're doing what Ryan's doing here, you have a much better chance of timing the roll properly. So here's the rail line right here. Most of the boat hard. You can let the boom, you can keep your back straight, keep an Opti stance, stay in this posture until the boom hits you in the shoulder if you have to make that roll happen, okay? And then when the boom hits you in the shoulder, if that does happen, you bring your chest down to your knees down forward. Instead of going inside the boat, you stay forward, which still keeps the same amount of your mass far out over rolling the boat. So you don't want to roll the boat late, you want to roll the boat on time. Okay, and this is really the key, where Ryan's really got the whole boat balanced around his weight, max heel, rudder looks good, no cavitation, not stalled out, sails trimmed well. And this is a great shot. Rudder is almost completely out of the water, still no cavitation. He's got the coach boat wake that he's going to hit. We're going to watch how he hits it coming out of the tack. His sail's perfectly trimmed at the maximum point of heel. You can even see a little bit of water coming into the boat. And he's in the air on the way to the high side. He's using his hands on the rail and on the centerboard to control his weight and the boat in relation and control how the boat flattens into these waves. So a lot going on right here. Let's try and watch how he does it. The main thing is maximum point of heel with perfect sail trim. Those two things are huge. And maximum point of heel with perfect sail trim, and he's not still down here trying to roll the boat over. He's not wasting extra time down on the rail trying to roll the boat. He's going. He's moving through the maneuver. He's transitioning from one move to the next. He's just flattening, getting ready to accelerate. Okay, so he's coming into this wave here. Okay, so the one thing you want to notice is he does not over trim his main out of that tack. He keeps his main really, really loose, almost at 80%, probably at 85% coming out of that tack. And the reason he does that, he doesn't think about doing that, you can tell. It's not something he consciously thought. It's something that he just knew to do by feeling it. It was that he would have stalled out completely and lost all of his speed if he over trimmed hitting those coach boat wakes coming out of that tack. Instead, by keeping his main out, he almost gets an auto pump out of the main. The leech flicks a little bit, and not because he pumped it, because he just left it trimmed well as he hit the waves. Okay. Also, really great rudder movement right there. That little head up as you hit the wave. For some reason, that looked really good. Okay, so he re-entered the rudder without cavitating it, and he also steered through the wave pretty nicely. What you're supposed to be doing through your tack, there's one shot at it, and then he goes into another tack here. Coming up next. The second half of Colin's tacks are perfect. He goes through the procedure exactly right, hand on the centerboard, hand on the rail. He always comes out, or he's starting to always come out with a really nice, powerful flatten and come out with pretty decent boat speed. Okay, so perfect flatten, perfect second half to his tack there. Okay, but what we want to focus on is the first half. So he's in Opti stance more or less right there, but he actually rotates the wrong way going into that. Okay, so we pause the frame here. He's maybe at a 45-degree angle to the center line of the boat, so he's not totally straight. Okay, so we pause the frame here. He's maybe at a 45-degree angle to the center line of the boat, so he's not totally straightforward. He's not sideways. He's kind of halfway in Opti stance. So going into this tack, what he should do is scoop back in the boat, rock his knees even farther forward, bring his right shoulder back, his left shoulder forward, and open up his chest and line it up with the boat. Okay, so both of his shoulders and his torso should be pointing straight forward going into this tack with his knees straight forward. And that will allow him to look like that to get to this moment where Ryan is here. Okay, with Ryan's chest, his torso is facing straight forward, and he's got most of his weight outside the rail line here. So what Colin does actually is he shifts his weight 90 degrees the other direction towards the inside of the boat, 45 degrees from where he is here, and he brings his shoulders down inside the boat and brings his weight inside the boat instead of forward. Okay. And he lands an Opti stance coming out of it, which is good. That's what you should do. And then he switches back to sideways. I think he's going to do the same thing